Hey there, fellow arborists, Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Vintage Story Primitive Survival, episode 59, In Search of Fruit Trees. Okay, now that we have the leather making barrels squared away, I'm gonna keep butchering the chickens. The reason I'm not using, well, actually, you know what? I got this spare bucket. I'll just do both at the same time. So I'm gonna make the iron falcons before I take on a new task, but I'll have you guys vote while I make the falcons for what I do after the falcons is done. There's the pole. And for the meteoric iron tools and armor, that would mean trying to find borax. So if you're wondering where that is on the pole. Alright, we just have a little bit more sunflower. You know what? Let's call this good. The rest will just be like chicken feed. Because I don't suspect I'm going to go through like hundreds of flour. I just kind of doubt that. Beyond the even capacity of one of the vessels. It's a lot. Okay, these guys are almost skinned, but I can leave them hanging for a bit. It's not like they're gonna rot quickly. So, let's make the falcons. Be close enough to a working temp. And I only have room for 2 errors. Got it. So the benefit of this is if we want to get our leather up and running again, the stronger weapon is going to be pretty handy. Also, to explain though, like the way the armor works is different parts of your body have a different chance. It's not like positional damage, it's just a chance. So when you get hit, it's like 10% head, 40% legs, 50% torso. And then the armor that you're wearing in that slot then calculates the mitigation. So if I, for instance, had a steel helmet and nothing else, only 10% of the time that steel helmet would be helpful. 90% of the time I would take full damage. So if we're making armor, you can mix and match, although people tend not to mix and match their armor. And the armor that had been voted on for me to make would require me to get a considerable amount of leather. So I'm really not going to be able to invest in armor until I have a lot more hides and skins to process into leather. And unfortunately those barrels burning up sent me back even further. But them's the perils of pit kilns. I could have been more careful, I suppose. And I wasn't, and that's on me. Alright, so we got the falcons. The new falcons, and I can put the old one away. Cool. Alright, let's wrap up the chicken butcher. And then potentially make blood awful sausage out of the blood that we got and chickens. And yeah, I just have enough for like one. I figured it was going to be like that. chickens aren't really high yield. You don't farm, or whatever. I'm just going to call it farm. You don't farm chickens for the meat. If you want meat from farmed animals, you go for pigs. So we have 5, and that makes me 1 sausage. That's fine. There we go. And I have 2 different buckets of blood. Let's combine them. So this can be used for water. The other thing I haven't harvested in a while is honey. The reason why I'm waiting for that, however, was that I was waiting for my papyrus farm to be harvestable, so I didn't have to like work very hard for it. Alright, this is like a lot of wood for 1 sausage, but whatever. I'm doing it anyway. Because I don't have any other meats. Well, I can smoke the poultry, I guess. Oh, no, apparently I can't. So yeah. A lot of, because you can't smoke awful, whatever. Whatever. It's fine. Alright, looks like you guys want me to work towards orchard or distillery. That seems to be the popular choice. So which one? Immediately. Between those 2. So an orchard would mean collecting fruit tree clippings and planting them near my base. And a distillery would mean making a still. So I'll give you 2.5 minutes to vote on that while I dig up my charcoal and get the other half of the meteor iron that I can't even use ready. Okay, good. It is charcoal. It's always, when you don't have glass into it, so you can't actually see if it's done or not, it's always a bit sketch of like, am I misreading the situation here? Is this just still like... Because if you're wondering, if you unearth a kiln making charcoal early, you just ruin the whole process. As soon as it has oxygen, you turn all of your firewood into nothing, and it sucks. It's almost like a rite of passage for new Vintage Story players, because it sucks that bad. So one of the reasons why I included an orchard and a distillery into the priority is we have a lot of advanced food production, but we don't have a lot of advanced hydration. Not that you really need it. I mean, obviously we have a well, so hydration isn't hard to come by. You can also turn... In the distillery, you can make ciders and wines and meads and stuff like that. But you can also make aquavitae, which is a medical alcohol. Which is a prior possibility as well. So, we're going for orchards. It's probably not the best task to undertake at night, but that's fine. Let's put our flint away too. I don't really need flint. Alright, orchard it is. So, what I'm going to be doing is moving or planting a fruit. My U key didn't work. Tree orchard. I wonder if there's a guide about that. Yeah, here it is. So where to find? Fruit trees can be found throughout the world in virtually all climates. Different climates will have different types of trees. Not all fruit trees can survive in all climates. That's an important bit. Growth habits. Fruit trees start small, but over a long period of time, and I mean long, they will get very large bit by bit. They do not instantly grow to maturity like regular trees. So for reference, if you have a sapling and you put it in the ground, the sapling will then instantly mature at its maturity time, creating a full-size tree, and it never gets bigger. There's no growth phases. So wood trees, not fruit trees, go from sapling to full grown, and rather quickly, actually. Fruit trees will only bear fruit once a year, and this time will vary by the type. They will go through stages of flowering, fruit bearing, and fruit ripening. Trees of temperate climates will go through a dormancy period when they have no leaves, meaning that they're like deciduous or whatever. Propagation. You can propagate fruit trees by removing a branch to get a cutting, and then planting the cutting on dirt, or placing the cutting onto the cut branch stub of another fruit tree, which means there's grafting. That's another important bit. Only a portion of the grafts will succeed, and even smaller portion of the planting cuttings will succeed. So I believe grafts are 40%, cuttings are 30%, something like that. Let me look it up in the Vintage Story wiki. But obviously I'm not going to be doing grafting because I don't have any fruit trees. I want to start an orchard. I don't want to graft onto. So, speaking of which, there are red apples, pink apples, yellow apples, which are wrong temperature for this climate. There is peaches, pears, cherries, again, wrong for this climate. Oranges, wrong for this climate. And we're going to be looking for olives, mango, breadfruit, lychee, and pomegranate. That is what can survive in the high temp tropics. So olive, mango, breadfruit, lychee, pomegranate. All right, I'm looking on the wiki to see... Cuttings take a 40% chance to root, and grafting takes a 60% chance to graft. So it's a 40-60. Got it. All right. So let's go collect cuttings, shall we? And for that, we'll need our axe. Axe doesn't have a lot of durability left on it, but it should be fine. And then once we have a bunch of clippings, we can decide where to try to plant them. Also, the soil fertility does not matter for fruit trees. That's not a factor at all. And vernalization is not a thing in the tropics. Vernalization is really only a thing for, like, temperate, as far as I know. I've never actually tried to grow tropical trees. But this is what I'm referencing. So these catbox saplings that I planted will go from 0 to 100% in 16 days. Basically, it skips the whole growth phase, whereas like fruit trees have, I think, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 growth phases, which is pretty significant. Very, very, very different. I'm not really sure why, like, regular trees do. Oh, boy. Regular trees don't have the kind of growth phases. I don't really know why there's such a difference between the two in Vintage Story. I've never bothered to, like, look that up. So we have a cherry tree to our south. That's not helpful, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna... I'll keep the marker on, but I think what I'll do is I'll change the color to indicate that it is, like, not gonna bear us fruit. So, what's weird, and this also applies to the berry bushes, is fruit trees can exist in our climate, in the tropics, in the wrong temperature, and never bear fruit, and this is also true... And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the experimental patch... or update, berry bushes are getting changed. Actually, these berry bushes are fruiting. Because it's October, so I guess it's cooler. So we're going to have a bunch of black currants and red currants soon as a result of the fact that it's October in game and the ambient temperature is going down. But the TLDR is cherry trees, I don't believe, like our climate. So they might not be worth planting. Is there... It's a cherry bomb. Yeah, the... Here we go. Does it tell you? No, it doesn't. Why does the in-game wiki not have the temperatures? That's dumb. Cherries are... do not want... Well, sorry. So apples, cherry, peach, and pear require fertilization. Orange, olive, mango, breadfruit, lychee, pomegranate do not. And oranges aren't that tolerant of the hot temperatures of the tropics. So the TLDR is, yeah, there's only a small subset of the trees that we're even bothering to go for. Olives, mangoes, breadfruit, lychee, and pomegranate. So let's go seek those specific fruit trees out. And I might want to just wait for daybreak, because trying to spot fruit trees in the dark is, like, terrible. But yeah, once these berry bushes that I had retransplanted up to the base fruit in a few days, we can either make a ton of jelly or a ton of wine or booze or something. And the way the distilling works, and I'll do this without pausing the game so that it becomes daytime. If you want something like wine, you can stick that stuff in a barrel and just barrel age it. Right? So you would want a fruit press, and where... It's weird that the fruit press isn't even in this process. You'd want a fruit press, and I'm going to need to get a little bit more resin for the fruit press, but we already have the other materials. I can make a rod. It doesn't need to be meteor iron. That's just an example. I have a chisel, fat, resin, and that forms a fruit press. And then the fruit press, you just put in your fruit. You screw the screw down for the fruit press, and then you end up getting juice in a barrel, and then mash. Mash is compressed fruit that some animals will eat, not chickens, but like sheep and goats, I believe, eat animal mash. And then with that fruit, you can turn it into wines in a barrel, or you can make liquor. So with a boiler and condenser, which is like a lot of copper plates, solders, and a soldering iron, you can make... Okay, I don't know why you would make lava, but you can make mead, you know, and other things like that. I'm trying to... The list here sucks. Oh, chickens can eat mash. Oh, that's cool. But the TLDR is like, there's some use cases for the mash. It's not like a wasted byproduct. Okay. Daybreak. Here we go. Looking for cuttings. So I've not been doing a good job of marking down fruit trees because I haven't bothered with them just until now. So I'm going to rely on you guys to help spot them. Keep in mind, it's only a subset of the fruit trees we even care to grab. It is nice to have a new blade, though. Happy about that. If we happen upon boars or hyena, I'll be able to defend myself. What? No, you know, here's a better idea. Olives. Okay. Let's work our way to the fruit trees we know of that can survive in this climate. So I'm going to hide my prospecting markers. Because I really haven't been marking the fruit trees. So I guess the only one nearby, because this is all, that's pretty far away, is the olives that I just pinned here. Because these yellow apples are going to be the wrong temperature. So I'm going to turn the wrong temperature fruit trees black as a clear indicator that they're just like worthless to me. So we've got pomegranates over here. That's worth something. So maybe I go southwest because we have some fruit trees known over here. So we got pomegranates, which I'll pin. Pomegranates, I'll pin those. Olives, I'll pin those. Yeah, let's go southwest. Plus, the terrain over here is more open and flat, so it's going to be easier to spot the trees in the first place. Olives are vegetable. Okay. Just making sure. I'm going to know what they are in real life. I just didn't know what they are in this game. Because, like, soybeans threw me for a loop. They're not vegetables in this game. They're protein. Which, I mean, makes sense. But trust but verify. Alright, so I'm going to take this. Yeah, I'll leave that one pinned. I'm just not going in that direction. So knowing that only 40% of the cuttings will survive, we'll want to keep that in mind when planting the fruit trees, because a lot of the fruit trees won't survive the planting process and will die and that's fine. And then you also need to space them out, because as they grow, they will take up like you should leave like 5 wide around it to not overcrowd. They can grow exactly 5 blocks tall and ungrafted 5 blocks or 6 blocks tall, 5 blocks wide. So spacing them like every 4 blocks away from one, or 8 blocks away from one another, something like that, just so that they can never be overcrowded is a wise goal. Especially given that we could hypothetically graft. And oh, there's a fruit tree. I don't know what kind that is. I'm bad at identifying them, but the easiest way to point them out is they have smaller leaves, like denser leaf cover or something. So this is a cherry, and as such, it is worthless to us. But what I can do is I can demonstrate the process. So once you have... Oh, there's also lychee. So this is... Alright. I mean, whatever. Both cherry lychee. I'm glad I actually physically checked it. So the what is even going on here? This is very weird. So let's take a lychee tree branch. And then we have this tree cutting, which can be planted or grafted. Did someone graft this? No, because I've never touched a fruit tree this run yet. It's just natural grafting or whatever. So I'm cutting all the lychee branches off. Because the branches are what gets replanted. Got to be a bug? I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't... You know what? It's actually a lychee cherry next to one another. That's what's going on. It wasn't 2 separate entities. They were just on top of one another. Not even a bug, just misinterpreted. Oh, come on, let me grab that. I should make a an axe. A new axe. And this is giving me firewood. There we go. So I think I fairly carefully cut down that for maximum lychee. And we have all these cherry cuttings. And I'm just going to replant the cherry cuttings knowing that they can't they'll die. They won't survive this. Also, I did see some sort of big animal over there. And then just the way to plant them is you just throw it back down. And it's the wrong temperature around here for these cuttings to ever survive, so we know that they're not going to be established. Or even if they get established, they won't fruit. What is that? Is that the sun bear? I think it's probably the sun bear. And after having done all that, let's delete these markers. Are you the sun bear, bro? Yep, you're the sun bear. Yeah, maybe in the deepest winter I'll be able to get well, actually the problem is it will never be cold enough in the tropics to vernalize cherry trees. So cherry trees and the other like northern fruit trees require fertilization, and I'm in the tropics, so they'll never properly vernalize. So they're really not worth the effort, in other words. I don't know if the tree mechanics talk about vernalization. No, they really don't. But the vernalization process is that apples, cherries, peach, and pear require a very, very low temp vernalization period where it stays about almost freezing for like a few in-game days in order for the trees to vernalize so that they can ever bear fruit. And as far as I know, I will never naturally hit those temperatures in the tropics. So like cherry trees require it to be 5 degrees Celsius for like almost a week straight for the tree to mature. And that's not going to happen. to put it bluntly. It's just not going to happen. So that's why I'm ignoring all of the trees that require fertilization. So the trees that don't require fertilization would be olive, mango, orange, breadfruit, lychee, pomegranate. And oranges probably don't want my climate because it's in the summer, it's too hot for oranges to really thrive. But they would be able to mature. So there's a chance to get oranges, but there's like basically a 0 chance to get the apple, pear, peach, and cherry. Hence the ignoring it. All right. So let's go to the known fruit trees and grab their stems and trunks and branches. And then once we have a decent selection of cuttings, I'll bring them all back home and we can decide where to put them. What does cherry look like as a crafting material? It doesn't. There's no cherry wood. There's only cherry cuttings. So certain trees, like fern trees and fruit trees, don't generate their own wood. They just generate firewood. So when I cut them down, I just got firewood. So you don't end up with like lovely red cherry wood or anything like that, unfortunately. So there's boars here. Got it. What a shame. There's other fancy woods though. You know, there's purple heart, there's ebony, there's a lot of pretty woods. If that's your jam. Well, we have orange. I was talking about orange. So let's, I think my axe is gonna break. Luckily, it's a tier, it's a stone tier. So like, if it does break, I'll just make a flint axe. It's fine. So even though I don't think the oranges are gonna thrive in our climate, like, I know they don't need to fertilize, so like, I'll still do them. Dang it. Should have brought my shears. All right, we've got 5 clippings. Rip my shovel in a second. Oops. Would help if I didn't throw it on the ground. I sort of wish that fruit trees, I don't know, they blend in real good. I kind of wish they didn't. I know they have like narrower trunks, all of them do, and that's like a telltale sign, but that's really hard to see over distance. Especially when there's a lot of foliage. So like here's another pomegranate. I'm just trying to maximize cuttings to maximize the chance that we get fruit trees near home. Nice. No, so far, a lot of chances for fruit trees to propagate. Alright, this one was also pomegranate, so let's head that way next. And needless to say, it takes a long time for fruit trees to get established, so I don't really know if I'm going to actively benefit from this, to be honest. It really depends on the length of the series. But if you're proactive, like right at the start of a new run, in transplanting a whole bunch of fruit trees to near where you intend to live, it can be like a very reliable, steady source of fruit satiety, which unless you live... Like, fruit satiety is one of those challenges. It becomes kind of challenging to fulfill fruit satiety, no matter what climate you're in, because if you're in colder climates, in the winter, it's like damn near impossible, unless you have stockpiled jams, jellies, or honey. And then in the hotter climates, berry bushes don't bear fruit. So, unless you, like, live in like maybe 25 degrees north or south around the Tropic of Cancer or Capricorn, like your fruit trees are going to suffer one way or another. Either will be too hot or too cold. They're very fussy. Or sorry, berry bushes. Which means long term, and maybe that was a bit by game design. I'm not really sure how they're addressing that in the 1.22 patch. But however they're addressing it, like for my current version, what that means for me is if I want fruit satiety, you know, planting a whole bunch of fruit trees around me is the way to do it in the long term, rather than relying on foraging, like constant fresh berry bush foraging, which you'll eventually run out. You'll never ever be able to fill your fruit satiety that way. It's not sustainable. So what the... I guess the sun broke through the clouds. I feel like someone just put a spotlight on me. Actually, we need spelt too. I should probably harvest the turnips. You're not wrong about that. I ignore them because I know I don't care for the seeds, but like, I'm leaving food on the ground. I have a lot of pomegranate cuttings. Oh, and there's another fruit tree right over there. So these are olives. And olives would be really nice to have too, just for the veggies that I don't necessarily have to re-sow. Are there other berries worth grabbing? Probably. I'm just not gonna do it. I have enough berry bushes at home that it's gonna be kind of labor intensive to manage them all, so I'm not looking forward to like even having more of them. As weird as that sounds. I mean, at some point it just becomes labor intensive to have a massive farm. So unless you really want to only farm, you're setting yourself up for just like a lot of labor. $13 durability left. Yeah, really, you're right. I ruined that olive branch. Alright, I'm down to my last slice of pie. My tools are literally about to break. I think we'll call this run good, having gotten a whole bunch of clippings. And we'll head home with what we've got. Before I head back, I'm going to extend the trip just a little bit to head over to the resin grove, because one obvious thing I'm going to want with all this fruit trees and knowing that my berry wall is about to mature is I'm going to want a fruit press, but I don't have the resin for a fruit press, so I'm going to go get it. And I'm already pretty close to the acacia grove for that. So as I've already explained, but I'll just reiterate, some of the game mechanics in this game are you can only really take advantage of over the course of like a long duration of time, like fruit trees or animal breeding. You know, in order to get a fully domesticated sheep or goat takes in the order of magnitude hundreds of hours, not tens. Or more than just tens, close to 100 plus. And the same is true of fruit trees, right? They only bear fruit once a year, and they take a very long time to grow, and they're very fussy about growing, and you know, so there's a lot of game mechanics that, like, as a streamer, I can demonstrate, but like, I probably won't benefit from myself. So, I don't suspect that I will ever really benefit from planting this orchard. But it doesn't stop me from doing it anyway, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Alright, so we're coming up on the resin trees. Actually, that's an olive tree right there. But my axe wouldn't even survive another felling. I'm not gonna bother. You can still shear Gen 0 sheep, yes. And it's just the milking that would be very, very tricky to do. The TLDR is without armor, I functionally can't really milk animals because they would murder me well before I would get a reasonable amount of liquid from them. Being unarmored. As soon as you have armor, that changes. But Yeah, I mean, that's how much damage that they do. Because animals are tier 2, like the typical farm animals that you would get are tier 2 attackers. So if you don't have like tier 2 armor, they're gonna kill you in 2 hits. And probably the fastest way to domesticate sheep and goat are to lure a breeding pair in to like a pen, and then I'm just gonna eat raw grain because I'm just that hungry. To lure a breeding pair into a pen and then have them breed like in your pen or whatever for Gen 1. But given my lack of armor, I'm not gonna be able to lure anyone anywhere. Not only that, but there aren't sheep and goat all that close to my base, so the whole act of like luring them is pretty impossible because of the distances involved. Thank you for tuning in to Vintage Story Primitive Survival, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Seraphs.